Okay, podcast starts now. What is up, everyone around the globe? You're listening to StraightioLab, and I have a story to tell. George, are you prepared for my story?
I am so prepared. You have no idea.
Because I have been sitting on this story in such an insane way. You know, we went to San Francisco, and I said...
We have talked multiple times in multiple cities, both virtually and in person, and you keep being like, I went to Palm Springs, and I'm like, how was it? And you're like, nuh-uh.
I've been like, I'll tell you when the cameras are on. Okay. So first of all, Palm Springs kind of sucks. Can we start there? So I went to one of those like nude gay resorts. Mm-hmm. It was called Indulge, which is obviously so embarrassing whenever you say it. I didn't choose the place. Let's just start. I didn't choose it.
I have a question. Is this a pun? Is it called Indulge? Like,
correct.
Wow.
And I'm glad you could hear me pronounce it that way.
You know, of course, what I would have done, taken it one step further, in bulge.
Whoa. You know, I think you're right. But the problem is, I think with it being clothing optional, you know, the bulges aren't always there because they're not always wearing bathing suits.
That's true.
Maybe in balls.
That's good.
Anyway, so everyone there is elderly. It's sort of a world for grandpas in particular to go to. And I'm rarely in a space where I am the youngest by 2 generations. And this was the case here. So first of all, it's just like you're sitting around the pool and you're naked and you're only hearing conversations about taxes and credit card points and condo renovations. And like to hear this guy be like, well, we sold our condo in St. Louis and then we bought a condo in Florida, but the taxes were horrible in St. Louis. But if we do the return right, and he can go on for hours about this fucking condo and these taxes. And it was driving me insane in a way where I was like, please, be lecherous. Like, why aren't you like trying to have sex with someone? It was disgusting. But then the real thing that was funny to me is like, so we were there with a friend and we went out that night and we came back and we're all like going in the pool and we were sort of drunk and being crazy. And we were like taking turns carrying each other like babies. So we were...
Sorry, were you with a big group?
It was like this particular night, there was just one person I'm friends with from New York.
Okay.
And we were all carrying each other like babies. Ha, 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 ha. And then there was this one like 55-year-old, like sort of stiff businessman who just kind of talked like this. And we were like, oh, let's bring him into the fun. And I went up to this man and I was like, do you want to be baby? And he was like, yes. So then I carried this random 55-year-old man naked around the pool as if he was baby. And I literally think he's like never had so much fun in his life.
Oh my God. Wait, so then did he sort of like loosen up?
I think he loosened up. He was like having fun. And I think to swim, I was swimming him around the pool like baby.
Was it sexual?
Non-sexually.
Was he there with a partner?
No, he was there. I mean, he might have wanted to have sex, to be honest, but...
Wow, so you are fully teasing this poor, introverted, single bachelor businessman who is there. He's like, all I want is like some hot young guy with a mustache to like come and be my one final swing before I finally die of old age. And then you come up to him, you say, oh, do you want to be baby? He, here are my balls. And then he's like, finally, my dreams are coming true. You take him up, you humiliate him in front of everyone. You're literally doing like a humiliation ritual even in front of your drunk cool New York friends, and you put him down and say, that's enough, grandpa, and then you go to your room.
No, I think he had the time of his life, and it really made me be like, damn, it was an amazing feeling of like, gay guys are so crazy.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I'm essentially picking up my dad, like this is so weird, and like to hold a naked man in the water is so like, what are we doing? Like, it's literally like, what is this? I was blown away by the whole experience. And the next day I woke up and I was like then to see him again and to be like, hi, like, and he was like, hi. It was really, really more intimate than if we had hooked up.
Oh,
would argue.
yes, I would say picking someone up, swimming around with him, and then putting him back down is 100% more intimate than hooking up.
So, anybody out there, if you're ever at a pool and really want to shake things up, start carrying people like baby. I think you'll have a blast.
That is very sweet.
Yeah.
I want to go on vacation.
You deserve it, but don't.
I literally deserve it.
I will say we need to talk. The PR around Palm Springs is too good. Like, this place is flop.
Yeah, I've always sort of suspected that.
It's so weird, and people are like, "Oh, it's just like West Coast Fire Island." No, it's not.
No,
what are you talking about? Do you hear yourself? It makes no sense.
It has always reeked of desperation to me, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it's just not right. And it's like, so you're in a pool. Like, they also have all these rules about being really quiet. Like, so all the music is really quiet everywhere you go. And everyone's like if you're in a house, they'll call the police on you if your music is like audible from the other houses. It's like, what is this?
Here's what I think about Palm Springs. I sort of think Palm Springs, it's like, what if debaucherous gay men became wasps in Connecticut? Like, it's like the ethos is very sort of NIMBY, but then you are in a gay destination with palm trees, which makes it worse because I'm like, well, if I'm gonna be wasp NIMBY, woman named Carol and her mother Muffy, like, at least let's be in Connecticut. Let's have like a dry steak. Let's go all the way. But if you're gonna, tease me with the promise of sexual debauchery and a pool and picking people up, then at least like let's go there.
I was genuinely surprised at how unsexual the whole place was. I've never been in a place like catered to gay men that was this unsexual. Like, I'm actually kind of blown away by it. Something's in the air there.
Yeah. Well, did you ultimately have a good time?
No, it was fine. Great. Ultimately, it was fine. I read my book, I learned a lot about taxes.
Are you still reading?
Still? I mean, it was a damn week ago.
Wait, you're reading Didion, or no?
No. Now I'm reading our dear friend Dan Daddario's book.
Oh, that's right. Then I take back the still. Did you finish it?
No.
Oh, my God.
I have a job, George. I have a job.
Speaking of job, let's bring in our guest. We have the same job, but not right now. Wow, that is such a good intro.
Wow. Please welcome to the podcast, Skyler Higley.
Hello. Great transition, guys. That was really seamless. That was one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Also, as your coworker, it's so funny to know that you were just sort of babying a man.
How do you feel about sexually harassing a coworker by telling a story of what you do naked in Palm Springs?
Thank God we're not coworkers currently right this moment.
Right.
Because I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, now we can say whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's, it was inspiring, I would say. And I also feel like every time I see you outside of work, I see a whole different side of you. You're a different guy.
Yeah.
In and out of work.
It's definitely Severance vibes.
I need to know what Sam is like at an office job. It has always been, because I get peeks of it, because obviously Sam and I will be in that contract negotiation room. We'll be talking to bookers. We'll be on calls together, and I get a peek of it. But I want to know what it's like at the water cooler.
It's very much like, I feel like Sam will never fully tell you exactly what you like really feel. Like, there's a certain wall that's up that I can tell that you're in a little bit of a business mode where, like, I know you're going to now go home and carry around a 50-year-old man in the water like baby. But if you're at work, you're not like, this guy likes doing baby with people.
Yeah. No, that's true. I don't even think about the wall, but it's there.
I feel it palpably because I sit next to you or sat next to you, and I felt the wall. And we have a lot of fun and we riff and whatever, but like...
You do have
We're riffing.
You also have, if you don't mind me saying, sometimes Sam will get panic in his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean, Skyler?
Yes. No, I've seen the panic. We've been through things.
Yeah, it's like and I also have a very bad poker face, so this is in no way, I'm not criticizing it, but sometimes if it's like a social situation that is a little bit awkward or it's unclear what the next step in an interaction is, I'll look at Sam and he will truly look like, Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out.
Yeah, this is my Sam dismount for any conversation that's awkward. Well, and that's it.
That's true. I've adopted C'est la vie.
Oh,
C'est la
yeah,
vie
C'est la
is
vie is a
big.
lot.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. Do you think you have a wall at work?
No, I think I have too little of a wall at work. I feel like I'm too much of just like whatever. I think I could be a little bit more professional. I feel like I'm so like amped up and like whatever, and I don't care what I say to whoever, and then I feel like that will get me in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's good though. It loosens everybody else up.
Right. But that's the other thing, is because I know that everybody is sort of projecting this like, oh, we're in a work environment thing, and and there's famous people around, so I have to like try to be cool. And I feel just generally this whole like apparatus that we're in, be it Hollywood or industry or whatever, it like forces you to sort of just be fake in certain ways. And I just want to be like, hey, everybody, like we're chilling. I'll say things in meetings that people are like, I can't believe you said that in the meeting. And I'm like, well, what? Like, we were thinking it. We don't care. What's the problem? I'm a comedy writer. You know what you hired me for.
I'm always like doing math of like, should I speak up? Like, is it like worth it to speak up about this thing I disagree with? And then usually I'm like, no.
You're right. I mean, yeah, I don't have that calculus, and I just kind of say whatever. And I should be a lot better about just, guarding myself, because you never know who really hates you.
Yeah, but c'est la vie.
There's a sort of currency, like when I'm at when I have a non-comedy job, like, an office job, the best thing you can be is like the funny one, the class clown in that office. But when you have a comedy job, it's almost like the way to set yourself apart is being the professional one. And everyone's like, wow, he's like really like put together in this like sea of clowns.
It's true. That's
like,
actually a great way.
I feel like every writing job that I've had, it's sort of like, I'm actually much more rewarded when I act normal, because people are like grateful that someone is being the adult in the room. Whereas when I have a non-comedy job, everyone's like, George is crazy. He changed his Slack avatar to Amelia Perez.
Oh, those Slack bits really hit with office people.
Talk about a straight topic. Actually, this is something I need to really like go long on.
Yeah.
But Slack bits, like when someone says one mildly funny thing on a Slack, and then it is a full 45 minutes of people just posting cry laughing emoji, and then like one like tiny yes and. It's like someone will be like, ugh, lunch ran long today, and then someone will be like, what is this? Italy, and then someone's like, oh my god, mamma mia, and then someone is like, miss signore, and then everyone is just like commenting with like Italian flags and like crying laughing emoji, and then everyone at the end of the week has a meeting where they're like, what were the best things that happened this week? And someone's like, well, when George said that thing about Italy, that was so great for morale. And everyone's like, we should maybe do an Italy themed birthday for Marcia, whose birthday is next week. And everyone's like, oh my god, that's such a good idea. Italian flag, crying emoji.
Yeah. I when I worked at The Onion, we had Slack, and I did this thing where I changed my avatar to the CEO, who we all hated, Jim Spamfeller. I'll say it publicly. We all hated him.
Oh my god, the worst.
He's a really bad guy. I changed my profile picture to him and like my name to his, and I would just like start DMing people that they were fired. And people would genuinely freak out. And I'm really just funny. Like, and people are like, you can't, because they, your bosses, for everybody out there who uses Slack, your bosses can see it. People probably know that. And they're like, well, you could get in trouble for this. And then I'm like, yeah, but there's no way anybody really cares that much. And also, if I do, whatever. I kind of have that feel, because it's like, my aspiration is to not ever have a job, even though I always want money. But like, oh yeah, freedom sounds so awful.
Yeah.
I think the secret is consistency. I think if your sort of thing is that, you like doing like trollish Slack bits and everything, people like get used to that, and then they're like, oh, that's classic Skyler. The issue is if Sam or I one day wake up and do that.
Right.
Without having set the expectations that like that's our vibe.
It would simply not go well. I cannot do a prank in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
Which is weird. There's almost a part of me now where I'm like, I do see the joy in it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
If you're not like genuinely, also people have to know that you have a good heart about it and it comes from a good place and you're not like really gonna hurt anybody's feelings. So there's a lot. Like, I don't consider myself a prank guy, quote unquote, but I do like introducing chaos to what could otherwise be monotony.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
You also want to project a little bit of fear around you, a little bit, just so people aren't entirely sure what you're going to do or say.
You heard it here first, folks. Project fear.
Project fear. That's my advice. Anybody who's trying to break into the industry,
Make people fear you.
fear.
I think my version of that is like in a social setting, I will suddenly say something incredibly like biting about a mutual friend. It's like I'll just be like,
We love that.
Yeah, she's always struck me as pretty stupid, and then everyone will be like really taken aback by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm actually now thinking about the wall again, and I'm surprised because like when I'm in a like non-comedy job, the wall is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I almost go into those and be like, how can I like literally not let them know a single thing about me? Like almost like a challenge.
It's true. No, it's true. I mean, at a non-comedy job, I will do minimal work and not care about anything, and I don't care if you like me or not. Like I'm not enjoying my time, and so I like will be like, well, whatever. I'm a bad employee here because this means absolutely nothing. I worked this shipping job where they were like, it was all just numbers, and I was data refining like Severance, and I was like,
Whoa.
I don't care at all. How could you make me care about this? This is just a waste of everybody's time.
I've had 2 jobs where I was closeted at because I was like, what if they just don't need to know?
When you say closeted, are you actively talking about like having a girlfriend or just not mentioning
Just
anything
not talking about anything about it.
Yeah.
And if like, so one of them was like the moving job. I was at this moving company that a lot of comedians in New York work at, and like, but like comedians that don't know me, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was like either comedians or like psychopaths, and they were all like real horny straight guys, like always being like nice, like
Wait, nice about what? Like as they're moving?
like an ass walking by.
Oh,
and they'll be like,
yeah, when an ass
"Hell
walks.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
They'll be like, look at that fucking ass.
It's so crazy that guys actually do, because I just don't get why we need to. Sure, you notice an ass. I don't get why it needs to be communicated about in such a way is sort of absurd to me.
No, the moving vibe, it was obviously, it's like it's very homoerotic because
Right.
they're all getting each other horny and being like, I was fucking this girl last night and it was like fucking awesome. And like, this is like,
Sam, you need to expand this character.
There's like the clitoris and the labia majora and the menorah. We have all the parts.
every part was working.
Yeah, that's
every
gay
part
guy
was
doing an
engaged.
impression of a straight guy. Oh, the labia minora? Yeah, dude.
But they would literally do that all the time because it was like the only way to pass the day was like, I guess we can make each other horny by like.
Well, here's the other thing, though, is that actually among a group of straight movers, I think talking about women is actually one of the few things that can connect everyone. Because what are you going to do? Like, you don't want to bring up politics. You don't want to bring up like what you're doing outside of work. You don't want to bring up your family life. So I think it's actually like, it's like the equivalent of gay guys talking about top 40 music.
or like, yeah, Drag Race or something.
Or, yes.
Actually,
Drag Race is too close to politics, even, I would say.
Yeah.
well, it did feel like, okay, I'm like in their space and I don't want to be like, I'm actually gay.
Right.
So I'd just be like, yeah, look at that. Look.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah.
Was there ever any like hint of anybody being like, hey, you don't seem to call out the asses like we do?
There was never a call out like that because I also was like very quiet and weird. Because I was also a bad mover. Like, it's not something I'm good at. It's not in my skill set. I was always like, I can't lift really heavy things. I was like, I can run. I'll run the stairs. Like,
I'm mostly into cardio. Does that help?
And so I was like doing this. I would bring the boxes up the stairs. That was like my deal. But like I was like very much like the dumb weird boy.
Okay.
So it was okay that I was quiet.
They were like, I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
That guy does stairs and he doesn't like ass.
Essentially. And then it was always
Being
kind of
quiet
weird.
is actually, being quiet is one of the biggest kept secret. Like, I used to think that being quiet would make people think I was weird or something. When you just get used to someone being quiet, you're like, oh, he's the quiet one.
Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of awesome to be the quiet one.
And you can go unnoticed so easily. Like, it's so much better than trying to fit in.
Also, when you're quiet, because my partner's very quiet in social situations, or can be, everybody gets to like project their own thing onto you, and will be like, "Oh my God, that's Sam's such a nice guy. He's just so
Totally.
quiet, and he likes birds, and he grew up in Maine." It's just like they'll just make up shit about you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I haven't said any of this. You just like filled what you assumed I was for
Totally,
no
yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Also, I used to think my default used to be like, oh, someone's being quiet, they must be boring or have nothing to say. I don't know, especially being in spaces where in New York or whatever, where people are also like dressed well and look cool. Like if someone like that is being quiet, then I'm immediately like, oh, they think I'm stupid. Like they actually are so cool and sophisticated that they have nothing to say to me because I'm such a loser. So
Right.
if you just like go in quiet and smoldering, maybe with a nice jacket, you're set.
I
never
always
have to say anything
try
else
to
in your
do
life.
that, and I feel like it doesn't track. Like sometimes I try to go like, oh, if I'm in a situation where I feel uncomfortable or whatever, I try to go like, I'll just be quiet and then I'll seem cool. And I feel like it's not working, and everybody can just tell I'm like uncomfortable. I'm not
feel
cool
that way, too.
enough. You know what I mean? Like I haven't crossed the threshold where I'm like, oh, people are just gonna think I'm cool if I'm just not talking. But I think everybody's detecting that I'm feeling social anxiety.
Yeah. I think one thing that I was surprised with about you is I feel like you're in like life and at work you're talking a lot, you're big. And then I actually think on stage you do kind of do like the cool quiet.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I feel like honestly it changes night to night, but well, cuz on stage sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just like really tired because it'll be the end of the day.
Sure.
But like, yeah, I can play big and small on stage. It just depends on the stage, I guess, because I was in Chicago over the weekend at Laugh Factory. I was screaming, you know what I
Really?
mean? Yeah, so it helps. It's a big room.
Oh my God, there is nothing better than going big on like if it's not your default. Like sometimes you're like, oh, this is my night. I'm really gonna become like, Rory Scovel.
Right.
Like I'm just gonna start screaming.
Well, it's like, George, I love
people
when you
respond to it.
go into accents or something. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it. A character
But
piece
when
from George.
oh my God, yeah.
I
Sorry, go
think
ahead.
also, Sam, I think the time that you saw me do a set, it was literally two people in the audience.
Oh, is that the only time?
I feel like in person, I think it was just a two-person
Is that the only
audience
time?
thing, and I was just like, oh, I have nothing for these
Well,
people.
that was a nightmare.
Yeah. So I think that's what it was. I was like, oh, I don't really have... I think that I'm always like exactly what the energy of the crowd is. So if they're...
Well, you're a mirror.
I'm a mirror.
That we did a show where there were only two people.
Yeah, it's fun.
Really? Like actually two people?
Like actually two people, and it was actually one of those things where I was like, fuck this. Like I was so mad, and it was like a Sunday night. And
Did you think they were maybe going to cancel? Because I get so angry when people don't cancel shows.
I was I was like, clearly cancel this. Cancel this. And they were like, let's start, woo. And I was like, what year is it? How far we've come, and yet this is still happening?
Sort of back down to earth it's such a humbling city, LA.
Such a humbling city.
Like, I'm not a big deal.
But you know what, though? What you realize is, like, that never ends. Like, I have been on shows with literal celebrities, that are, like, dropping in or something, and they will perform in front of 7 people. And that actually is liberating, to be like, this doesn't mean I'm a loser. It just means I'm in community with, Janine Garofalo.
Right. It means that this whole community and everything that we do is for losers.
Yes, exactly.
Well, even our show sometimes, I see people come on that I'm like, you're like very successful.
Yeah.
And now we're making you do this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, crawl on the floor and bark like a dog and eat this like slop from the ground, fucking whoever's the most famous person. And they're
I
like,
have to say, I feel that way about literally actors doing press. Like, you're telling me Meryl Streep still has to do a round table?
This is actually something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. The idea that now, if you used to want to be famous, you'd have to go on a show with a guy who was on cocaine, and it'd be a big band there and blah, 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 and then you talk about your thing, and then you maybe do a little bit or whatever. And now it's like, oh, you want your movie to have press? You better eat hot wings with this
Eat
white
hot
boy.
wings?
Like, you have to.
You have
It's all
to.
this like crazy bullshit that nobody can. You're like, are you going to talk about the role at all? How did you prepare? How did you get into character? It's like, no, like, I'm going to throw hot wings at you and you have to eat. It's insane.
No, I actually think it's one of the ways that like comedy has won, but in a bad way. Every single thing now is like
Retweet.
like everything
Yeah.
is comedy. Everything is like a sketch or a bit.
And even on top of that, alt comedy has won.
Yes, alt comedy has won because guess what's completely alt comedy? Making Viola Davis eat hot wings. Like that is it. The idea that that anyone has to do that.
Well, it's of a larger, greater issue where even not to get too serious, but like culture itself, our politics itself, all of it, like nothing's taking itself seriously anymore.
Yes.
This whole country is just like, yeah, we're just a big joke. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Said that, doesn't matter. It's like, well, no, you can't be comedy. We can be comedy. We can't have everything be comedy because then nothing matters at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything's irony pilled. George, are you watching the season of Drag Race?
Yes.
I want to explain. So there's this queen right now named Joella, and she is like really, really not doing well. But she is so confident, and she'll literally tell other girls to their face, like, I hope you're not lip syncing against me because I'm gonna fucking beat your ass.
Okay.
And like, but meanwhile she's like can barely like dance or turn or whatever. Like she told girls their talent was bad, but she did like the most basic, like, I'm the queen, I snatched the crown song you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so she makes me feel a rage that is like unhealthy. But I've been like going to Reddit to be like, okay, let's see what other people are saying.
Can't do that.
And people are like, finally, TV is back.
What?
Finally, reality shows are realitying again. And I'm like, not everything's a bit.
Oh, right. They're just like, oh, well, it's bad and it's good and I like that it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad and it's crazy and it's good TV. And I'm like, it's not good TV. Like, I mean, in the sense, it's like comedic, but it's like these girls work their whole fucking
Right, they're
lives to
trying
get
hard.
here. This is like their big moment. I don't know. It bums me out in a weird way. I don't know, how to have that distance. Like, they're not real housewives. They're like trying to do something.
They're trying to be
I do wonder if
Yeah.
it's like, is our only form of resistance to be the most humorless version of ourselves? It's like, if everything is a joke, then is the most radical thing you can do to like wear a black turtleneck and a scarf and walk into a room and be like, well, I thought that was absolute, I thought that production of The Seagull was middlebrow dreck.
Then you'll be Jeremy Stronged and
Yeah.
But no, because Jeremy Strong, it becomes a meme. Jeremy Strong
that's what I
goes
mean. That's
into
what I mean.
the.
You can't
Oh, I
escape
see.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It like goes into the comedy machine, and you're just spat out, and you're a joke again.
Yeah.
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 Either you're in control of the joke or you're not. Like it's really it's fucked up. It's very
literally
scary.
impossible.
Because the way even like the literal like evil people that we have seen in the news lately are still just like, well, haha, it's ironic. I don't know. I don't know. When I was being a Nazi, I was being random. And it's like, what is that? No.
And it's one thing to make those jokes in public and to be like, okay, I'm trying to get my reposts for the day. But it actually has now, I've internalized that mode so much that I can't watch the inauguration without being like, Melania's slaying with that hat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like I'm thinking, oh God, everything is so depressing. How do I make it funny? And then I like spit out some joke. It's like my default mode is chicken shop date.
Right. It's like I'm not even internalizing anything emotionally.
Yeah.
But then it's also then I feel like a deep emptiness inside of me. And then and then it's like, well, what am I then going to like, as you said, be serious? Because nobody likes that. Mm-mm. Everybody's like, that's so annoying. And then everybody will be like, well, that person thinks they're so self-important and pretentious. And I don't want that either. And I'm just trying to live, man.
Wait. This is exactly, I'm realized I'm being the quiet kid on social media. Like I'm like being quiet.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is too much. Like, like everyone being super ironic and like gay guy about like serious things and everyone being like really sincere about serious things. I'm like, both are wrong.
Right. How do you do both?
Yeah, I'll be quiet.
I'm gonna take a video of myself rolling my eyes and then saying shut up and just post it whenever I see anything on social media. That is going to be my new
George, I know we can't necessarily get into it, but you had a screed this week that was so juicy.
What was my screed?
When you posted about like everyone sharing misinformation and
oh god,
and
moment of weakness.
It was so good, actually. I was glad.
I want everyone to know I am on the verge of posting a screed every moment of my life. I am in manifesto mode, and everyone is lucky that I have some level of self-control, and I only do it once a year.
George, I feel you so much, man. It
is crazy how I feel like a guy in like the basement watching everyone and be like a voiceover of American Psycho or something and just being like, these people walking around me like don't know anything. Like that's how I feel every day.
George,
and I have to be like,
let me ask you, do you feel unknowable to your fellow man?
Yes.
Yeah.
And guess what? They are unknowable to me. I'm literally like, how... You interact with someone in real life and you're like, we're friends, I've known you forever, blah, blah. And then it's like, wait a minute, you fell for, what is the equivalent of like a viral post that's like, if I post this, I don't grant Mark Zuckerberg the right to my face. And this is happening just like on a daily basis, and I just have to like scroll past that and be like, hey, like, want to get a drink later? Meanwhile, I know that this person is a complete moron.
Right.
Oh God.
But then to stay engaged with it, because I have, we have internet job, and I also am just addicted to Twitter and stuff. To stay engaged with it, you go, well, this is bad for me, so I should be off of it. And then also you go, yeah, it's bad, whatever, on an individual level, but this is what is happening with everybody. So what am I supposed to do? Just be like, oh, well, I don't engage with that, I don't care, whatever. It's like, well, it doesn't matter whether you do or don't. Culture is still like devolving anyway, and you can just be not aware of it, and you're still going down that toilet drain. Man, I am so fun to hang out with. We're having such a fun conversation.
It's awesome. George, I just have to say the sentence where you were like, you're in your 30s, like you are not young enough to like be stupid, and you're not old enough to be stupid about the internet. Like,
well, I do stand by this. I'm like,
no, it's genius.
If you're like, let's say 27 through 40, okay, you are like, at this point, you should know how the media ecosystem works. Like, you are not a teen who like, is like grew up with it and doesn't know any different and can't remember newspapers. And you're also not like a boomer who is confused by it all because it's so new. Like, how have you not developed media literacy? How do you literally see, I mean, like a post that is the one that I sent you, Sam, that's like about the air quality in LA, and it's a post that is an anonymous text message where someone is saying, lung doctors I know are saying you should do this. Like, lung doctors? You are someone with a bachelor's degree?
Lung doctors you know? And the way that this image like deteriorated as it got screenshotted and shared, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That was fucking crazy.
One time my friend shared a post, the same thing, that was one of these, that sort of holistic to alt-right pipeline that's like, oh, we're so, the RFK, he's the king of these people.
Yeah.
My friend one time shared a post that was like things that hurt your body that they like don't want you to know about. And it was just like, prescription medications, fast food, blah. It's like a long list of actual stuff. And then in like sort of close to the bottom of the list, one of them was legitimately feminism. Was one of the things. And this was a feminist person that like it believes like just shared it, and I replied being like, feminism, WTF, like what the fuck? And then she was like, oh, I didn't read the whole thing. And I'm like,
oh my God.
And I love her very much, but I'm also like, what are you?
What is going on?
We got to do better.
This is, God. Well, we do need to, I want to do our first segment, and I want to get into your topic.
Sure.
But
yeah.
One last thing I want to say, I was talking to Sam about this, like, I think a lot of this boils down to people thinking everything needs to be done publicly. It's like, you can read something and then not also tell everyone you read it. We read things all the time. I consume things all the time. I consume TV shows, books, articles, whatever. Just because you read something doesn't mean you then have to repost it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're a little unsure about it, just take a beat.
Take a beat.
There's this idea that like something is more legitimate or real if it's done in public, whether it's reading, learning, having a conversation, like shouting at your friend. It's just like, it's fine to not have everything be in public.
Right. I mean, and obviously, like, it makes it less legitimate, right? Because it's like,
Yes.
well, you're also performing it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we took down culture.
Well,
that
yeah.
was easy.
We fixed it.
That was awesome.
That's what we do.
See you in 2028.
Okay, let's do our first segment. Skyler, our first segment is called Straight Shooters, and in this segment, we're going to ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to gauge your familiarity with and complicity in straight culture. It's basically this thing or this other thing, and the only rule is you can't ask a single follow-up question, or we will post about it.
Okay. I agree to your terms.
Okay, Skyler, a novella or a Nobel Peace Prize?
Nobel Peace Prize.
Guitar Hero or Inbox Zero?
Guitar Hero.
Okay, y'all, you guys, folks, or comrades?
Comrades.
The US Open or the UPS is closed?
UPS is closed.
Luca Guadagnino or San Pellegrino?
San Pellegrino, because I don't know what the first one was.
Oh,
Wow. Let's return to that.
we're returning to that.
Let's see how I'll circle back.
French kiss or the stench of piss?
French kiss?
Wow. Okay, sipping LaCroix or kissing a boy?
Kissing a boy.
There you go.
My book is out in paperback or my tooth is full of dental plaque?
Oh, God. My tooth is full of dental plaque. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we rate our guests on a scale of 1 to 1,000 doves, and I think there was a real confidence, and it's your first time on the podcast, and yet you were considering, you weren't just guessing blindly. I'm going to go 912 doves.
Wow. Nice.
Almost 9/11.
Damn.
I know you would have really liked.
I really would have loved if it was 9/11, but that's okay. No, it's like one more. It's like the day after.
So he loves 9/11, George. I don't know if you know this.
I don't know.
Is this like, to say more?
I love 9/11. I was in the towers.
He was in the
left.
towers.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, he loves it.
It's
Oh, let's spread that.
that I was in the towers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could probably tour off that.
Who was that one guy who was the comedian?
Steve Ranazizi? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why he said. I would have just kept at that point.
Oh,
keep it
honey,
in.
keep it up. No one's
Keep it in.
fact checking.
I mean, it's eating away at him. Whatever.
He really messed
So
up.
I have a question about. I can't ask questions about the game.
Yeah, now
Now
you can.
it's over.
Oh, now I
Yeah,
can't.
now it's over.
I feel like I got like Blade Runner, like where I got
Yeah.
intake form. Was this a psychological
Yes.
test?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly what it is. It's sort of a Rorschach test.
It's a Rorschach test. It's sort of like only we know what your answers say about you. We would never make that public. That would be against HIPAA.
Okay.
But it's, it's sort of you can't, if you think too hard about it, then you can't trust the results anymore. It's like hitting your knee with that little thing that the doctor has and then testing your reflexes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was like a deep peek into my subconscious, but we'll never truly know what it means because it can't be translated into words that humans understand.
No.
Correct.
But people will see. People will see something in you.
You guys are doing big work here. Some
Thank
people
you.
will say that.
Thank you. Should we get into the topic, George?
I would adore that.
So Skyler, you texted me this morning 2 topics, and I don't know which one you've landed on or if there's a secret third one that you've changed your mind and gone to, but I would love to hear what your topic is.
Okay, here's a secret third one that it's speaking to me the most. Hometown pride.
Ooh, I love that.
Hometown pride. And what speaks to you as straight about that?
I think that the idea of a great feeling about your hometown or like a strong hometown pride, it feels so, for lack of a better term, normie-pilled, where you don't have anything else to build your pride or identity off of, or if it's like a big portion of your identity that's not from one of these cities that already have a big amount of pride, like Chicago, New York, whatever. I'm talking like anywhere else. It feels like very like a lot of people, I think myself included, have certain traumas directly associated with where they're from because it can be some like whatever place. And I feel like hometown pride is just this like thing that sort of means nothing and also feels a little like jingoistic a little bit.
Totally.
100%. Yeah.
And so it just feels very straight. It just feels very like I have not actually made that much analysis of why I feel the way I feel, and I just am gonna be into fucking, wherever. Oh, I'm from Boston. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there is something where it like very quickly turns to anger or something.
Yeah.
That really
Well, it's
scares me.
defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not, I mean, obviously people in big cities also have pride. I'm not saying if you're in New York or you don't say like, I'm from New York. But there's something about the hometown pride of smaller places that is like, you are ready to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
George, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I mostly grew up in Greece, but then I spent 6.5 years in America in New Jersey, in a very sort of like middle of the road suburbia in New Jersey. And so hometown pride was always very interesting to me because in my mind, I was like, okay, well, the years I spent in New Jersey, that could have literally been anywhere. Like it had no defining elements. And then when we moved back to Greece when I was in high school, and that was genuinely such a big difference in my life. And I was speaking a different language, and I was so aware of like my Greek heritage everywhere. And it's drilled into you that we came from the ancient Greeks, and like modern and democracy was invented in Greece and blah, blah. And so it was so shocking to me when I moved back to America to see people be proud of Wisconsin. So no offense, but I was just
Right.
like, wait. But to me, I would never think of, if my two hometowns are Greece and New Jersey, like New Jersey was just sort of like a waiting room.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
exactly. It's well, and that's also, there's ethnic identity and
Yes.
ancient history involved in that, and all of the
And by the way,
philosophy.
being proud of being from Greece is also reactionary and also quasi-racist if done the wrong way. Like I'm not saying,
Sure.
like literally being proud of like Greek statues and like the Adonis is, it's skip hopping away to being alt right. Like
Right.
I get that, but there's something about like, okay, let's think of this one thing that is a completely random fact about myself, that it just so happened that this is where my parents gave birth to me, and have that be the number one thing about myself. That's almost like, it's almost like giving up before you can even make an effort to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sam, you're from Missouri?
I moved around a lot. But
Okay.
like Michigan, Virginia, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio.
Oh,
sort
okay.
of.
So just Midwest generally.
Yeah, Midwest generally with a little bit of
And
Southern.
do you feel pride?
Never. Because I moved so much that it was always like everywhere I went, people would be like, well, this is how we do things. And I was like, not everywhere.
Right.
Like I had too much, for a small town in Indiana, I had too much global knowledge.
Right.
Where I was like, well, I've seen a place with a mall in Virginia, and actually there are whole new stores you haven't even heard of.
Right. Everybody
Totally.
who lives in a place, they do think that place is they're like, it's the best mall. Like, oh, we have the local joint, like Freddy's. Oh my God, the food at Freddy's, the best sauce you've ever tasted. You go, there's a million Freddy's and you don't even know.
I think also the moving, Skyler, is like part of the wall.
Yeah.
Where I would go and be like, because I was sort of taught like, when you move, you are wrong. Like they are right. Because you'll be like, that's not really how things work. And it's like, no, they are right.
Right.
Like you are joining their town. So I would be like, shh.
Right.
Like be quiet until you figure out what's going on. And then just sort of be like, yes, I also love to go to that coffee shop.
Right.
Like after school or whatever. Like there was something about like they are always in the right. The customer is always right.
Right.
I also think it's like, I know that people who, move somewhere as adults and then pretend they're from there get a bad rap. Like it would be like me pretending I'm like a New Yorker and being like so hometown pride on 9/11.
Yeah.
Obviously. However, I actually think there's something to having hometown pride for a place you actively chose to live in, because it says more about your personality. Like I remember after moving around as a kid, the first place I lived as an adult was the Bay Area, which I have no like personal connection to, but I did feel like it was where I made my first like sort of chosen community is where I had my first, like, I really felt kind of like an ownership over the neighborhood I lived in, the places that I frequented, the people that I knew. And so I felt like I was, if I were ever to, like, let's say root for a sports team or something, I would be much more likely to root for like a San Francisco-based team than like a New Jersey-based one, because that was just where my parents happened to live at the time. Like
100%.
I was like happy to live in San Francisco. I chose it and I liked it. So obviously I'm like more happy.
You're saying biological family versus chosen family.
There's your biological city and chosen city. I feel the same way about Chicago. I grew up in Salt Lake City. I moved to Chicago. I have way, way more pride for Chicago than I would of Salt Lake City, because cultural differences aside, I chose here, and I moved here at 20, and I became a person in this city, and it feels like a much more real city where people are sort of intended to live and try to be their own person, where I grew up is just like, this is what we do here city of anywhere in the United States, I would say.
Yeah.
You're also pointing to an important thing, which is like, the idea of having hometown pride is almost like saying that was the real me there. And so like it's like that those are my roots, that's what I'm proud of. Whereas I'm like, no, this is the real me. I've worked very hard to pass as like normal in New York. Like,
you know what I think it is too? I think it's also like the same thing of being like, well, I'm a Civeris and I'm a Taggart. Like, just like being all about like lineage, which is like, but you are as an and now I'm thinking about it, individualism versus collectivism, and changing my tune a little bit. But you as an individual, that doesn't mean anything. Like being like, this is what we've done, this is who we are, this is what it's like, that is true on a certain level, but on another level, it's just like you are not a part of any of that. That had nothing to do with you. You're a result of it.
Totally.
And you can acknowledge that, but it just, but I don't care about family. I'm adopted, so I don't have any like specific like, oh, my name, my family name, my blood, whatever. I don't give a fuck about any of that.
I'm like, I think the weirdest, something happens also as you age that I've noticed among peers, where it's like, even the people that were like, I fucking hate my hometown, like you give them like 8 years and they're like, I actually love this town in Michigan. And they're like, actually, it's like a really nice place to raise children.
Well,
and it like becomes this thing where like, don't get me wrong, like where my parents live in Michigan now is very nice because it's like on the water and blah, blah, blah. That you're like, oh, this is cute. And I see it now, but I still would never live there. Like, I couldn't. Like, what would I do?
Right. There's more to life. I think we're also, I don't know, from being ostracized in one way or another, moving around or whatever, we're like chasing a certain high that you just cannot get in Michigan on the lake unless you like jet ski a lot or something.
Yeah. It's tough. I don't know, George, how do you feel about that?
No, I was struck by what Skyler said about like individualism versus collectivism, because I do agree that sort of complicates the argument that we're making. Right. That it's like, well, yes, we can't completely leave behind who we are and only be this like, the architect and the fountainhead making his way. Like, yes, we are all part of the community we came from. We are all part of our family in some way. Everywhere we've lived like stays with us. So what is the right amount to respect your past? That's the big question.
This is like my main struggle in life.
No, truly, genuinely. Yes. I was about to be like, it's what makes you you, but it's not. It's not. But it is. I think like how happy you are at any given time has to do largely with how you have chosen to incorporate your past with your present. Because you can get way caught up in like nostalgia of what has come before, or you can ignore it so much that that it's almost like a trauma that you've severed, and then you're being this like dead-eyed, like forward-looking person.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about this, because I also think that this is sort of, I think the whole past-present thing is sort of the definition of like what I have been creatively or whatever, because like, you know, all my stand-up is about Mormon adoption, whatever, all that bullshit. So all of that I have very complicated feelings about and trauma around. And so you want to sort of like decry that and go, I'm not these things or whatever. I'm not fully defined by them. And at the same time, it's like, well, everything that I have done is either a reaction to this, or not either. It is a reaction to this. So you have to respect the things that have defined you, but I also don't know if you get so bogged down in them where it's just like, I don't know, you can only be who you are and you can only be where you're from, and you can acknowledge that you didn't have a choice in that and then take agency, but then also can't just be like, fuck it, like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
This is so like, something about this is Carrie Bradshaw to me. There's something like,
Really?
something about it is like,
Well, talk about someone who doesn't have a past. Literally, where is she from?
Meanwhile, across town.
well, it's sort of like, is it possible to have a future without a past? Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
something so like, is it possible to look at where you've been from and feel nothing about it? Like, can I ever forgive Big?
yeah.
Well, this is interesting though, like the idea that there's being defined by your past in a hometown pride way, and there's being defined by your past in a resentment way.
Yes.
Like there are it's you can also be so driven by your grievances about your past that also defines you. And so is that straight or gay? And also, and is being neutral about your past, like basically rank from gay to straight, being
Okay.
attached to your past in a hometown pride way, being attached to your past in a resentment way, and having completely neutral feelings about your past in a Carrie Bradshaw way.
Well, obviously it's straight to care about, like, to love your past.
Yes, of
It's gay
course.
to hate your past.
Gay to hate your past, and then,
Neutral is bi?
honey, I've never met a bi person who's neutral about anything.
I don't know if anyone is neutral.
I
I
don't
guess
think you
neutral
can
is the
be.
wrong word. I think I mean more like
Acceptance?
stunted. No, it's the opposite of acceptance. It's like having a block. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
But it
It's
also,
like
I think that
a traumatized
also,
response
I
to
also
your past.
think that is defined by like how much did you, for lack of a better term, hate your past,
Yes.
which a lot of people I think go through this life experiencing, and they don't have any sort of resentment of where they're from.
Yeah.
I've just been like saying on stage recently, like, how was everybody's childhood, good, bad, or neutral? And a lot of people will just be like, good. And it's like, oh yeah. So there's not, when there's not something to repel against in your hometown,
Sure.
Freddy's is the best place, and you don't really need anything else. I think that
Yeah.
it comes from a lack inside of myself that I felt like I wanted to eschew where I was at and get to more. Not that that lack was bad, but I did need to fulfill something.
Yeah. It's it could have been tight to love the hometown.
Could have been awesome. I think if we were all in our hometowns, not talking about this at all, I bet there is, and you know, we're probably all, you know, incels or whatever, but
Sure.
I think maybe we're all a lot happier because we're like a little dumber.
A little dumber, probably maybe got a little house.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Not that you're dumb to love your hometown, but I think a lot of the people who do love their hometown are pretty dumb.
There is a correlation.
Right. They like have an American flag up.
I just want to say, I know that we're generally talking about like smaller towns, smaller cities, but I actually would extend that to people that are from, I don't know, New York or Los Angeles or Chicago.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, I actually think it's equally annoying, if not more so, when someone, you know, grew up in the Upper West Side and is obsessed with being from New York.
no, I'm like genuinely so jealous of those people in a way that is like kind of unhealthy. Like it's almost being jealous of someone with like really rich parents. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so jealous that you got to like start fulfill, like you get to love your hometown and you get to be in New York City.
Right.
Like I'm like, that's not fair.
but then a lot of those people, it's so difficult to satisfy them. Like, I know so many people that like, I remember like going to college and being like so enamored with being on a big campus and all this stuff. And then I would meet people that are from Manhattan and they're like, ugh, this is just like my high school. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
we...
There's too much stimulus out the gate, but I feel
yeah.
similar resentments. I just feel I'm so resentful sometimes of anybody who's not where I'm from, like from where I'm from, where I go like, you don't know what it was like. It's like so weird that is indescribable until you go there and then go just like, man, just being from like, I'm from Chicago, and everybody like goes there and loves. It's just, sounds awesome. So much culture, you know, so many things. You're worldly without ever really trying. It's harder for people to be like ignorant about the existence of other people. It's ultimately good to be exposed to a lot of people, and if you're not, it's very like what. So that pride is at least warranted, but then it feels like, if you're prideful of those places, it kind of feels like you're sort of flashing all the money that you have in my face. It's like, oh yeah, I'm from a great place and I love that. It's like, cool.
And totally. I'm cool and smart.
Yeah.
It's like,
well,
okay.
right. I mean, hometown pride only works if you're at least the underdog.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and when people say they're from LA, don't even get me started. The way that I'm just like, okay, so you have it all. Like especially when people are from LA and then go live in New York and they're like, God, I love New York. And it's like, so you just like grew up sort of like knowing about everything and having access to everything.
Yeah.
And now you still have access to, like, I'm like, you have it all.
Yeah. I don't know. The people, I haven't even met that many people who are from LA. It seems very, because everybody we know is from not here. It seems like a lot of those people then are like, yeah, I mean, I didn't need to leave LA. This is where everybody's ends up eventually, so we can all be set on fire. But like those people seem to have want for nothing as much, or just be like,
that's true.
I'm also thinking of like probably just rich people. That's true. Everybody that I've met that is from LA was pretty rich.
Sure.
Oh, that's so interesting. I've been surprised many times meeting people from, especially when I was younger, because I met a bunch of people from LA when I was in college, because I went to college in California. And I initially would think like, wait, why are you not like Heidi Montag? Like, because in my mind, everyone that's from LA is on the hills. And then you realize that, of course, as many viral Instagram posts have reminded us during the wildfires, right, not everyone in LA is Heidi Montag. And I know so many people that are exceedingly normal / middle class / whatever that are from LA. And it's actually jarring to you, because then you actually meet someone who's rich from Dallas and they are so much more weird than
100%.
someone who's like middle class from LA.
No, that is true.
They don't know how to act.
Not at all.
Yeah, like, genuinely, yeah.
Damn. I mean, I can't believe you brought up Dallas.
It's like not real shots fired. No, I feel like I also wasn't trying to claim that everybody from LA is rich, obviously. I just feel like the people
Yes, you were.
No, I'm saying that everybody from LA is poor and they should get more rich.
Everybody from LA is perfect.
That's literally true. Everybody from LA is perfect.
No, let's be real though. Let's be real. It's like, well, like whatever, rich, poor, perfect, whatever. But everyone who is from LA is going to hell, and we know that. And we know that.
There.
And everyone from New York is going to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I love that.
Well, I mean, sorry to bring up more serious things, but there is,
I know this is such a serious day.
Hometown pride. I just want to say, like, hometown pride taken to its extremes.
White supremacy, basically.
Literally.
Well, literally, it's like that's where, like, debates about the Confederate flag come from. It's people being like, well, we think it's racist. No, we think it's just hometown pride.
Well, and even just like, get out of my town, person I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very that.
It's I mean, it's identity built around like externalities that are then taken to the extreme where you don't consider that, because you can be like, oh, I am this, and then when you push everything else away and being like, I am so that, I'm so happy to be that, then it's like, again, like going back to like not the individual thing where you're like, so you think you're this larger thing, but then you think everybody else outside of your collective isn't a part of the collective. So it's like individuality in this way is good, because then you can think of everybody as individuals instead of just your collective being the one individual and everybody else being part of an outgroup.
It's tribalism.
If that makes sense. Yeah. It was a convoluted way to say tribalism. Yeah.
And also, I mean, obviously sports fandom is part of this, whatever, but then also being proud of famous people that are from where you are from.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when I was in New Jersey, like Bruce Springsteen was a huge presence. Or like, if you're from Minnesota, you think you have like a relationship with Prince. It's like, not really.
No.
He probably would have found you like pretty boring.
But at the same time, you do.
He's like, Prince could have walked where I walked. You don't understand. And that means something for some reason.
Well, it's almost like a mass hysteria. Like everyone in Minnesota is like, Prince is ours. So Prince is like played more, and Prince is like posted more, and Prince is like just in the culture more. So you're like, I guess I love Prince more. And you kind of do.
But you're also being like, because he's from that same place, we're talking about that collective like identity thing. You go, well, that makes me part Prince. You know, if he's from the same place as me, Prince is part me. There's a tiny bit of me in Prince, and there's a tiny little bit of Prince in me, and that makes me feel like I can somehow believe in myself more.
I mean, the way that Wilco has a hold on Chicago
Oh my God.
needs to be like when I lived in Chicago, I loved Wilco more than I've loved anything in my life.
Yeah.
And in a way that was like, I look back on that and I'm like, who was I? Like, don't get me wrong, I still like it, but like, I'm not like fucking crazy about it. Like, I was like, you know, run me over with a truck, Wilco. Like, please.
It's, I mean, anything like, and especially because so much has come from there. Anything from there, people are going to feel that way about. The fact that Michael Jordan, like the one city with the most pride got to have Michael Jordan. It's like, come on. It's like giving a person that already has ADHD like a bunch of cocaine. It's bad.
You also can't help yourself. Like, for example, I started comedy in Boston. It's not interesting why I was there. I just happened to be living there and I started comedy there.
That sounds suspicious. It's not interesting why I was there. Didn't kill anybody.
He was there for grad school.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. And I have no special, I don't know, hometown pride for Boston. But when I hear another comedian started in Boston, I go wild. I'm like, oh, we are part of this. And that's actually a way in which hometown pride, yes, it's biological family, but it also is chosen family because you think you're family members with Prince. Like, it's actually chosen family in this way where you're all in a commune together, raising your children together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
I think there's also that comedian thing too of like, we chose to do the same thing in the same place. So we probably had, and this is the good part about any group, similar struggles. Where
Similar
you go,
struggles,
we can relate over this. I'm probably traumatized by this similar things. And so you can understand uniquely the contours of what my feelings are because you had that experience. And that is what everything creative we do, writing or whatever, is trying to get to with other people. And then when somebody has that experience where it's like, well, if you had the same experience as me, I don't need to write a joke explaining what that experience is for you. You just are there with me. So like, we don't even need that. So the connection that we are trying to make across humans and try to be less unknowable to our fellow man is like already there. So you can be like, oh yeah, same place, same people. So I might be coming around on hometown pride, but I am straight. So whatever.
Yeah. No, and it's like, our hometown pride is gay. Like, where we're like...
It's just pride.
Yeah, we've invented gay pride.
Literally, because it's like, I'm not going to be proud of where I'm from. I guess I have to have gay pride.
Well, okay, but literally what you're saying, it's true. It's like any kind of cultural pride. Like, if we have pride in the fact that, like our Bruce Springsteen is Judy Garland. Like, it's just because, like, she has been chosen as the saint
Literally.
of the community.
And that's literally why, like, stan culture fights so hard.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Stan culture is just hometown pride for people who are not from anywhere interesting.
Right, but I also think that...
Hometown pride without borders.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. No, it is like this... I mean, the stan culture thing does speak to this natural craziness of defending something that is outside yourself that's not you, that you're building your identity around. And it feels like we can do that for anything, where it's like the way I see people go so hard for Nicki, like so hard.
Ruin their lives.
The most awful stuff for Nicki Minaj, who is not even, for Nicki, who had good hits for like a little bit of time a while ago. And people are like,
Take it back. Take it back.
I mean, bleep it out if the Nicki stands are going to come for me. The barbs, because I can't. But it's like insane to me, that level. But like people will do that for that, or like some town in Idaho.
Yeah.
But at least that's land. At least that's like property that you can own. That's different.
That's true. That's different.
But it's like primordial. It's just weird, like this, like this, like self-preservation has then inside like what we need to do has then turned into like I'm gonna get online and bully somebody for
Totally.
a K-pop band.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why we need to make homes more affordable. Because people could just buy a home, they would defend that, and they wouldn't need to defend Nicki Minaj.
It's true.
I know, it's almost like
You're onto something. We take all the housing market back, and then stan culture goes away.
Because we all have the need to defend. Unfortunately, humans have a military
no,
part
we
of
have
their
a
brain.
need. Yeah, it's a militaristic mindset. It's also an ego-based mindset because I think every single thing you are quote proud of, it's almost like you are bringing it in, and now this is part of me, and now this is part of me, and now this is part of me, and you are making yourself like bigger, and it's all feeding into your ego, which then makes you feel more invincible and also more offended when someone, attacks
Right.
some part of you.
It's so crazy the way I don't do it anymore because I'm like kind of aware of it, but I feel when somebody really doesn't like something that I like and goes hard at it, and then I start being like, oh, I guess I don't like that person. It's like, well, wait a second. Like, that's not a part of me. I just like it. And they hate it, and I go, well, I guess I don't like you. You hate Tyler, the Creator? I hate you.
I mean, I think it's a good way to sort of weed people out sometimes.
I mean, it's true. It does work, but it is strange because it's like, well, that's also a third party that has nothing to do with us, really. So what are we attaching to?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. This sucks because I actually had a point and I lost it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And don't you hate that when
So
you're
sorry.
podcasting and you forget what you're gonna say?
Yeah, that's why I don't have a podcast.
Damn, it really sucks because it was probably the smartest, best point yet.
You know what? And I knew you were gonna cap it off with like the smartest, best point. Because you
Yeah.
always do that.
Well, because you wait till the end for the best point.
And then it sort of culminates in, you're like,
So-
I
And
gotta hit it.
we knew that was happening too. Scott, we were sort of being like hype men. We were like, all right, let's like keep this going. We're making our B-rate points back and forth. And Sam is going to come with the final home run.
Yeah, so that's what's really complicated about it pretty much is because it was going to be out of the park too.
What would you say you have the most pride in? Is it just gay? Is it gay? I'm genuinely asking.
About
yourself.
I actually have the point.
Go.
This was part of kind of what was weird when the fires were happening and everyone was like, I fucking love, this is my fucking city. Because I was like, I actually don't have a connection to LA.
Yeah.
And yet I'm living here. And it's confusing as like because I can't be like,
Right? Yeah.
like, we love you, because I was like, well, I've spent the last year shit talking LA.
100%.
It would be so insane for me now to be like, I stand, but it's also like, don't burn down.
Yeah,
I don't want you to burn down.
And I don't. Yeah, I yeah. To not, I can't. It's like I can't talk shit, even though I have been. Like now that's over. I'm not gonna. If I'm being honest, I still don't love it, but I appreciate the people who do love it,
Of
and I think
course.
everybody should still have their houses. But it's still just kind of like, oh, I guess I'll just like sit back and then sort of just kind of repost GoFundMe's or whatever.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
really like, oh wow, egg on my face. Like the person that you've like shit talked for the last year gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh damn, my bad. Did not intend for that to happen.
It's like, well, it's just like I didn't hate you like that, and I didn't think anything bad should happen. I just didn't, like want to hang out.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
It's
I didn't
like,
want you to die.
yeah, I didn't feel that way about it.
But to answer your question, I think I feel it's somewhere between maybe a mixture of gay and New York.
Okay, George.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I do think ultimately, almost in a sort of jokey, ironic way, I do think it is. I love talking about being Greek, and it's like a fun thing to talk about, and it's fun to almost in the way that I feel like this would also be the case if I was like Italian or something. Like it's like I am fully just like a white American person, so it's funny to pretend that I'm foreign.
Right. Well, you gotta like attach yourself to something. Like even if it's
Yeah.
irony pilled, you still.
Yes.
I mean,
And to be fair, like I do feel, I mean, that is where I go home. That is where my family lives. Like I go there. It's like I do feel connected to it, but I certainly am not like, or like I'm not an immigrant or like a foreign person in the way that like my parents were when they first moved here. Obviously, I pass as American.
right.
It almost feels like a betrayal to use a very like American humor to talk about how different I am and how Greek I am.
Right. I feel that way, I feel like, yeah, you're sort of resisting the, because to me that sounds like you're heading off criticism that like nobody's making in your face, but you're thinking that like, okay, but Greek people would see it like this, and yet I know who I'm speaking to when I talk about this stuff. And I feel the same way about being black, obviously, just because it's like, yes, I am black and I was raised with that, but also like I was adopted and raised by white people, so it was always like in like an all-white place, so it was always a very outsider thing. It wasn't as much of like, I'm black in a community of black people and all this stuff. It was very like, this is sort of, for most of the time, a problem. And I think I reacted to that as a kid and as a young adult, trying to sort of downplay it as much as possible or be tokenized or all of this, whatever. And then sort of realizing that, you know, I don't want to have that just be an accessory in this way, and having realized that and understood and respected my past and been like, yes, I am different or whatever, to a lot of different people, I feel like my pride sort of centers around like understanding who I am with regards to race and culture. And I'm like, yeah, I'm this and I have to be this way. And I think that I understand all the reactions to me from all these different kinds of people, and yet I still am myself. I feel like I have pride in my own blackness and the way I've understood it, and I feel the same way, because it's like, well, I'm not exactly like whatever, but like, you know, I'm aware of that and I accept that about myself, and I think it's good. I think it's okay to be prideful about stuff.
Well, it's interesting, like, obviously my experience is in no way directly related, but being proud of a marker of difference rather than something that you are in community, rather than something that connects you to community, is sort of an interesting point, because I remember like when we lived in the States, I felt different because like my parents had accents, like we didn't know a lot of things about American culture that everyone else around me knew or whatever. And then I thought that I would, when we moved back to Greece, that I would immediately feel an innate part of that community because so far I had felt different. But in fact, then when we moved back to Greece, I felt more American because all my references were American, blah, blah. So all of that is to say, to your point, the thing that, if anything, is connected to any kind of national pride was always like a marker of difference rather than a marker of like solidarity.
Right. And you can still be in solidarity with people, but you also understand how much different you are in no matter where you go, and it can feel really bad sometimes, but I think because it is something that feels bad is something you have to accept about yourself and be prideful in. Otherwise, I think that really sort of will ruin you emotionally.
Yes.
So, amen.
Amen. Well, I know we do
This is such a heavy episode. I'm
know.
a very silly man. I want people to know that. StraightioLab listeners, I like jokes, and I'm not always bringing it down by talking about the differences between ourselves in the past and currently.
I think this was serious, but not too serious.
I completely agree.
I think this was a good level of serious.
Should have gone with parkour.
Wait, I do want to know what your other two were. Parkour and what else?
It was going to be parkour or cults.
Oh, that's good.
It was good.
Parkour is really good.
It's really juicy.
Parkour is juicy. But I don't have a lot to say about it. It just feels very...
it just feels very
I actually have a lot to say about it.
Really? Well, because you're a stairs guy, so you were always running up and down those stairs.
I'm doing the stairs. I'm doing all types of shit on those stairs. No, when I was in college, I took a documentary making class, and like they were like, you got to make a documentary about something. I chose the Parkour Club.
Wow.
And I literally like followed the Parkour Club, and it was so funny because they were like not real, like, but they were like, we're actually going to like this other college for like a parkour
jam.
And there were like multiple parkour clubs from multiple colleges. And I was like, this is like one of the weirdest groups of people I've ever been around.
They gotta be weird.
And like, I made this documentary that was like obviously so embarrassing, and I would love to be able to find it again.
Yeah.
But the documentary teacher, I saw him like a year later and he was like, hey, like I actually love your parkour documentary. My 2 sons watch it all the time. And it's like, right, because they're
Awesome.
like 8-year-old boys who just want to see a guy do a flip.
Right.
Like,
It's so embarrassing how cool I thought it was. It's like such a thing. Because you're like, this guy's doing you're so cool. You're amazing. You can be.
I've talked about the things, George and I talked about the siren song of menswear and how it like calls to us, even though we know it's unethical. And we think of it sort of like how an evangelical thinks about porn. And that's kind of how the siren song of parkour also does call. Yeah. Like sometimes when the algorithm takes over, I will start getting a couple more parkour clips in there.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's bad. I feel like it was gone, and I watched as a kid, and now I see parkour videos sometimes, and I go, well, this is bad. That's actually kind of how I knew Trump was going to win, because parkour clips came back.
Is back.
It's what it is.
I would rather watch parkour videos than like most content that's served.
Of course,
at least
it's
like
so
a real
cool.
deal.
Amazing point.
It's so cool, but it's also
literally
like
all I get is like drag. Sorry, no offense to wow. To talk about right wing, I'm literally like, give me parkour, not these drag queens. But that is sort of
okay, but drag parkour.
No one's doing
parkour,
that.
There we go.
I'm the parkour queen of Pittsburgh.
We are like 2 seasons away from that happening.
Of course.
Everyone's desperate to find anything that makes them unique. That's a good one.
The parkour queen of Pittsburgh. All right. Should we do our final segment, Sam?
Yeah, let's do our final segment. So, Skyler, our final segment is called Shoutouts, and in this segment, we pay homage to the grand straight tradition of the radio shoutout to anything that you are enjoying, people, places, things, ideas. Imagine in 2001, you're at TRL shouting out to your squad back home, but about anything that you like. George and I will go first. George, do you have one?
I can think of one. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have one right now. Do you?
I have one.
Okay.
I came
will
so
think of
locked
one.
and loaded today.
Okay, go.
Well, I actually have 2, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to land on. Okay, whatever. This will not be topical by the time this comes out, and that's okay. What's up, freaks, losers, and perverts around the globe? I want to give a huge shout out to FKA Twigs, Eusexua, the album. It came out just last night, and I sat up and I listened to it, and I said, damn, this is fucking good, start to finish. I think she's doing something very interesting where her look has never been weirder and her music has never been more accessible. To me, it's actually very gaga to be like, look how weird I look, but look how normal I sound. And I think it's a fun thing for her. And there's a lot of stuff in there that George specifically, I think you would like. There's a lot of sort of ray of light vibes, a lot of like interesting niche pop references that I'm like, oh, now this is interesting. When a cool girl does cool pop music, you really do notice a difference. And I am so happy, and it's, every year of my life, I feel like I'm like, is this the year that I have nothing to find joy over? And then boom, something else comes and I say, look at me go. I have reason to live. Thank you, FKA Twigs. I love you. XOXO. Sam.
Wow.
That was great.
That was really good.
You had a lot to say about FKA Twigs.
I was very blown away.
Wow.
I'm really excited to listen. I sort of think she might be the only person that can save us.
I think, and not to pit women against each other, but sort of hearing it, I'm like, was the brat thing like a psychosis? Like
it was a mess. Well, I listened to it now. Honestly, just started actually listening to it now, and I'm like, it's good, but it felt like it was again like with the culture and everything. It was so like, this is what we are into, and there was where I started listening to it back then, and I was just like, okay, but like you with moving, I was like, I guess I'm just not gonna say anything, because if I do, I'll be torn to shreds. And then people will be like, well, then what bullshit do you listen to? And I'll be like, I don't know, I'm all over the place, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love Brat, but there's something about this where I'm like, this is like, it's mature. There's really something to it. So George, what do you think?
No, I do think, unfortunately, even though I think we all earnestly did like Brat, and I loved it. I'm on record. I still listen to it, whatever. Unfortunately, it got so big that when people do look back on it, they will look back on it with embarrassment. In the way that we look back on, like, sorry, but like the Women's March.
That's so truly.
I went to it, and I, of course, everyone needed to march. I don't regret being part of it, but you can't not look back on it and be embarrassed. Like, it just, that is how it is.
I think you're 100% right, because I liked it, but then I'm seeing TikToks that are driving me crazy. They're like, quote unquote, analyzing the songs, and it's like, you are the dumbest person I've ever heard.
Right.
Now I don't like it. I don't like it like that. There were 2 people dressed up as apples next to me at the fucking Sweat Tour.
Good Lord.
I was furious.
That's how I feel about Kendrick and Drake's whole beef now, is I still get posts of people like talking about it in the terms of like, oh, the battle, and I'm like, can we put it down? That was last year. You're still talking about, oh, Drake's goofy ass still did it, and I don't care anymore. That was fun for then. I don't care now. It's insane how much content I'm still getting about, oh, you know, the true hip-hop heads know that. I don't care. I'm not a true hip-hop head. I liked it at the time. Yeah. Enough of that.
Damn. It's tough. Okay, George, whenever you're ready.
Okay, yes, I will go. Okay, what's up, vinophiles and wine drinkers? I want to give a shout out to Lambrusco. First of all, let me just say, I think Lambrusco is absolutely disgusting, but what I want to give a shout out to is the confidence with which it presents itself. And even though I know that every time I've tasted it, I haven't liked it, you know, you say, oh, sometimes I want a red wine, sometimes I want it to be cold, maybe a little sparkle, maybe a little fizz. Oh, that sounds kind of nice. Maybe I will get a glass of Lambrusco. Each time you want to send it back. And so I want to become the Lambrusco of, writer-performers, where even if people do not like what I'm offering, they say, oh, I wonder what that George has to say. And even if each time they keep coming back and keep being like, that was honestly kind of a flop, they keep buying tickets. So I think we all need to adopt the Lambrusco mentality. It is much more about marketing than it is about the essence of it. I think Lambrusco is the defining drink of the Biden and second Trump era. We all need to channel our inner Lambrusco if we want to be famous in this crazy connected world, you guys. Wow. So shout out to Lambrusco.
Huge shout out. Woo!
Wow.
Okay, Skyler, whenever you are ready.
Okay, all right. I have one. Shout out to those really big trucks, the Fords, the F450s, 150s, whatever's, the huge trucks that the white guys with the Oakleys drive. Shout out to those. They're so big. I hope you finally feel secure in your masculinity from driving those. I hope that you find some sort of meaning in driving a truck where you're above everybody, can see everybody, and I hope it makes you feel safe. I hope you feel hugged and safe inside those huge, huge trucks, because they guzzle so much gas and it's got to be so expensive for you. But what price is too much to feel like a real man? And I hope you enjoy driving that around and trying to park, and I hope it's all worth it, even though I know you don't have shit to haul. Shout out to those big old trucks.
Woo! Woo! Damn, those trucks really are fucking big.
They're so big.
Talk about, I hate to always be this person, but I'm like, when will the government step in?
Never.
Ban these fucking trucks.
The trucks is like, that's second under guns for like those people. It's
literally.
Like they want them in those amendments.
Because I love those like little old trucks. I'm like, oh, how cute.
Yeah.
But those big ones, I'm like, this is fucking
they
ugly.
Are huge. It's again hometown stuff. Every time I visit, I will see, because you don't really see them out. You'll see them more out here. You don't see them in New York or Chicago or whatever. I go back to Salt Lake. They're huge. People are driving them around, and they look almost like monster trucks. And you're like, why do you need to drive that? What is going on?
The impression I get of Salt Lake City, and I've never been there is just so much space that people are like, what if we fill it? Like, it's just, it's crazy. And this is mostly from watching the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I guess.
It's really like weirdly, like, obviously cultish, but like also like way more white trash than people think. Very much. Because it's, the American West. Shout out to there.
Shout out.
Shout out to there too.
Well, Skyler, thanks for doing the pod. This has been a real treat.
Thanks for having me. Hope to see you guys again soon.
Do you want to plug anything? We're bad at that.
Ooh,
yeah. I'm doing a show at Union Hall on March 20th.
Hey, now our listeners know where that is.
Y'all know where that is. So if you want to come and see me make jokes instead of really like getting into it about our deep feelings about who we are in the world, then come to that. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm doing.
Perf.
And watch After Midnight. Why not?
And watch
Hey.
After Midnight on CBS.
Why
And
not?
check out the Oscars.
And check out the Oscars on ABC. They're going to be so mad at me for that. But yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
StraightioLab is a production by Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network and iHeart Podcasts.
Created and hosted by George Civeris and Sam Taggart.
Executive produced by Will Ferrell, Han Sani, and Olivia Aguilar.
Co-produced by Bei Wang.
Edited and engineered by Adam Avalos.
Artwork by Michael Fales and Matt Grubb.
Theme music by Ben Kling.